You're listening to A Bit Later, a midlife stand-up podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ziegler, and I'm sitting down with comedians from across the globe to find out why they are pursuing stand-up comedy and what they are learning about themselves at this stage in their lives. Today's guest is Pamela Wardrip. Pamela is a San Diego-based comedian, actress, writer, Navy veteran, and cancer survivor. She left a six-figure job with a Fortune 500 company to pursue comedy without a plan. Pamela is the granddaughter of a Baptist preacher and the daughter of a tattoo artist. She has been performing stand-up for 7 years, and as one half of Silver Sisters Comedy, she has been producing variety shows across the San Diego area. Join me for a chill hang with Pamela Wardrip.
Well, it was kind of a long journey. I was born, no, I'm just kidding. I've been performing my whole life. I tried to do acting, but I just could never get cast. So once I gave up on that, I just decided I was just going to be me on stage instead. And that kind of led to a couple of different things. I produced and put on a sketch comedy show from 2014 to 2019. Once a year was a live show. So I was doing the sketch comedy stuff for this live show every year. And it was a group effort. We called it Friday Night Live. It was a free show, so we weren't infringing on anything, just so you know. But we wrote all of our sketch comedy, and we produced a show that was like was like Saturday Night Live. We did sketch comedy, we did live music. It was a live show. It was once a year. So that's kind of how I got onto the comedy path after giving up on acting, and then. When it came down to, here's what happened is I ended up getting this rare form of cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called olfactory neuroblastoma. And it was really scary. And like, I'd always been doing stuff on the side. And I was like, a lot of things happened in my life where my mom died when she was 57. My significant other at the time had just gotten re-diagnosed with cancer again. We didn't know at the time that it was going to be terminal, but like all these things happened, and then I got cancer, and I was like, I can't wait until I retire to really start trying to do more of this stuff and make this stuff a part of my life, because this is what I've always wanted to do, but
there's life, right? There's life that gets in the way.
Yeah. And I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana. So I had to get out of there. So I joined the Navy, and I was in the Navy for 11 years. I was a bosun's mate the first 5 years, and I was a cryptologist the last 6 years that I was in. So that means I know how to tie a knot and keep a secret. So that got me out of Indiana. That got me to San Diego, which broadened my horizons quite a bit. And I was always just too intimidated by LA to just go to LA. So I was doing stuff down here. But I got a good job doing insurance. They pay really well. And I've been broke most of my life. I liked money. You know what I'm saying? It was hard to... Right. And it's expensive to live in San Diego. It's expensive to live everywhere right now, but definitely expensive to live in San Diego. So I felt like I was doing the right thing, what I was supposed to be doing. But when I got cancer, I was like, I don't know, maybe there's a way to do both. Maybe there's a way to lighten up. I definitely needed to lighten up too.
Thank you for sharing that. I have a couple questions there about, so with cancer, has that remediated? Have you gone through chemo, or what was the treatment like for that?
Yeah, so the treatment was 2 surgeries. it's really funny. I was really in denial because I was like a really healthy person. So I couldn't believe that I got cancer. I'm like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't eat desserts with processed sugar, like, because the doctors all along, they were treating me like it was a nasal polyp, right? But they were like, it's not really a nasal polyp. This is not really, but I was just in denial. I was like, well, it certainly can't be cancer because I'm so
Mm.
healthy. And so we did the first surgery and they removed it and they biopsied it. And that's how I ended up with my diagnosis, which is hilarious because I mean, like, I came to my post op visit and they said, take a Vicodin or two before you come in because we're going to debride your sinus cavity. So I took a Vicodin and I went to the appointment. So I was kind of loaded, you know,
Yeah.
and I was there by myself because I didn't think anything was going to happen and I was just going to take an Uber home. You know what I mean? And so I'm like there and I'm telling the doc, you did such a good job. I didn't even have, and I'm just like on and on and on. And the doctor's trying to interrupt me, but I'm so exuberant, he couldn't get a word in edgewise. And he stuck a report in my face. He goes, you have olfactory neuroblastoma. And then he started telling me everything that was going to happen next. And I was just like, I was so shocked. So it ended up, I didn't have to have chemo,
Okay.
which was awesome. But I did have to have, basically, I had to have brain surgery. They had to drill through this bone right here in between my eyes and get into my brain and remove an olfactory bulb. I didn't even know I had olfactory bulbs. You know what I'm saying? That's the only
Right.
body part I'm missing is my olfactory bulb. I got all the other parts I are stock, everything that came
Well,
in.
okay. So I'm glad you're here with us.
The other thing I had to do was radiation. So no
Okay.
chemo, and then, like I had such denial. I didn't even understand how much denial I had. I'm talking to the radiation doctor and, they give you literature to read, right? I read the literature. I was like, oh, I got this little bitty spot right here, 5. They said radiation could be anywhere from 5 to 35 visits. And I
Wow.
was like, I got this little bitty spot. 5. I got in there, the doctor, and because I had this rare form, I got all the directors of everything. I never got so much attention in my whole life, Stephen. If I did anything, everybody wanted to know. You know what I mean?
Right.
I had cell phone numbers of doctors and they called me back and they texted me. I was like, I didn't think this is how medical conditions went. You know what I'm saying? So, so anyway, this doctor drops it on me, goes, you need 30 visits. I'm
Right.
like, 30? I'm like, I got a little spot right here, doc, and he, of course, won. I didn't get to, negotiate it all. And I almost didn't do it because um, I had like a grade B tumor. And even though it was large in my sinus cavity, it wasn't very wide. So that's how they judged it or whatever. So I almost didn't even do it. But then they dropped the bomb on you. You know what I'm saying? This was the bomb. They said, well, we couldn't check all the margins because I had my surgery done endoscopically. So they couldn't just take a whole margin around where it was to test it to see if they got all the cells. So they said we couldn't test all the margins. So if it comes back, it's usually fatal.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, how do you not do something? You know what I mean? When they
That's not a
tell you,
chance you want to take. Yeah.
yeah, you just
Yeah.
can't do it. And I really wasn't ready to go back to work yet. So I said, all right, let's do the radiation.
I love your attitude toward that, and some of the things that have come up here in conversation is one of the recurring themes is like grief, loss, huge life changes, that's kind of like what pushes a lot of us to start stand up a little later. And I think the whole like life's too short, like you addressed that right up front of like this is something you always wanted to do and a world that you always wanted to be in. And then you experience these losses and your own struggles and then move forward, with performing. How long have you been doing stand up?
I started in 2019.
Okay. And how old were you when you started?
54.
Wow, that's great. That's really cool. So you're 7 years in now, right? Can you take me back to like the first open mic and what your experience was like there?
Well, the first open mic, if you tell the host that it's your first open mic, everybody is supportive of you. It doesn't matter how bad you are, whatever you do when you get up there, the whole audience just goes crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so my advice is if it's your first open mic, make sure you tell them it's your first open mic because it will be a wonderful experience no matter what your material is. And I think the bit that I did was I tried to do a bit about me and my boyfriend and trying to make a decision to go out to dinner on a Friday night. Where do you want to go? Well, where do you want to go? Oh, and I always wanted to go to Soup Plantation. It didn't matter, what it was. Do you know Soup Plantation?
No, we don't have that on the East Coast.
Oh, well, it doesn't hit as well, but like we would do this back and forth thing every Friday night. Where do you want to go? And I always wanted to go to the same place. And he knew that, but we would do this. So that's what I tried to do my material about. And then the walk away was, man, that girl really likes tacos. So I kind of missed the point.
So from there, and actually, let me rewind a second. So your 11 years that you spent in the Navy, plus your upbringing in the Midwest, where do you where do you really draw your experiences from, your comedic sensibilities? Like what of those that life experience really has translated to the stage for you?
Well, I have a couple of answers to that question. Number one,
Sure.
my whole family is funny. I'm probably the least funny person in my entire family, but I'm the one that likes attention. So
There you
this
go.
is how it goes. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is like, I I do very self-deprecating humor. I really want to make fun of myself and embellish some of my shortcomings per se. And I want people to let themselves off the hook about whatever it is that they're beating themselves up about or however they feel like they're not quite making the grade. So I have that mission statement. That's my mission statement when it comes to comedy. I want to be funny first, of course, but that's my little thing underneath of it.
I like that. I like that. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that of being the funniest, not the funniest person in their family, but and even or within your friend group. But a lot of people can't translate that humor to the stage. Like being naturally funny isn't always um, doesn't always work well in stand up either. But yeah, most of us have that attention driver as well. I get that too. Yeah.
Well, it's one thing to be funny and tell a funny story to your friends, but to write a good joke and to reproduce it on stage like you've never said that joke before in your life, that takes some work. And if you don't, I mean, I guess really good comedians, they make it look like it's just natural, but it's not. It takes some effort.
Effort and a lot of repetition. And that's the part that the audience or the average maybe comedy fan doesn't recognize when they see someone. Yeah. So your Navy experience, kind of like touched on that. Where around the world did that take you? What are some things that maybe, like I said, could you can bring to the stage or have you brought to the stage from that work?
Well, okay, so I was brought up in Evansville, Indiana, and my grand both my grandpas were Baptist ministers, and one of them had a congregation. Um, and my mom didn't drink, and I ended up, my first duty station was in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I learned how to drink down there. I joined the Navy when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was really nothing there for me, and I wanted to, I wanted to get out into the world. So New Orleans, yeah, there were a lot of growth experiences down there.
I would think so. Yeah. And now you said earlier, so you don't drink any longer, right?
I don't
Yeah.
know, no, but
Me
I
neither,
did.
really, I should say. Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
But I went to New Orleans
Okay.
first. I was there for 5 years, and which is unbelievable. I am like the princess of the United States Navy. I want you to know. Like I was there. I haven't even talked about this yet, but I was there, and I got orders to a ship, and I didn't know I was getting orders to a ship, and they just came unannounced. And my senior chief got them canceled for me because I was crying in the closet and I wouldn't come out. So, I haven't even talked about that in so long. But also, I had just gotten married not too long before that, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to go to a ship, and I just got married, and I all I want to do is get out." Well, of course, the marriage didn't work out, and I stayed in New Orleans, and then I I worked with a lot of program managers there. We wrote the um, orders for the active duty reservists. So I didn't have any authority or anything, but I had access to a lot of I like the program managers would come to our department where I worked, and they would ask us to help them. So it ended up when I wanted to reenlist and become a cryptologist, one of the program managers gave me one of his uh, non-duty, non-active duty billets, and so that I could reenlist and go to cryptography school. So I'm just like, and so I went from New Orleans to Pensacola, Florida. Then I went to the Azores, which I'd never heard of at the time.
Yeah, what
Uh,
is that?
it's a
What's the
group of
Azores?
islands. It's a group of islands off the coast of Portugal.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes, it was amazing. And so I went to the Azores. I went to Terceira Island, the Azores, and I mean, it was like the Hawaii of the Atlantic, okay? But way cheaper. Everything they were behind the times. I mean, like people still got milk in tin cans, and
Okay.
I mean, it was really a culture shock. And I know I did service for my country because there were no fast food restaurants on the entire island. That was my
Really?
biggest sacrifice I made.
Yeah, that is a big sacrifice. Actually, only fresh food, huh?
Yeah, only fresh food. Oh my God. And I mean, I worked mid watches, and we would get off of our last mid watch at like, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And then we would go to this little, I don't know, restaurant, and we would eat these Prego sandwiches and drink galones. And, I mean, it was just a wonderful experience, is all I can say. Like the Navy, like I can't say enough good things about the Navy myself. I know not everybody has a great experience, but I really did have a great experience. And after the Azores, I went to London, England. There's not an ocean to be seen in London, England, but I got stationed in London, England, and which was like it was what I wanted, but out of amount of people who want it, this many people get it, and
Yeah, for sure.
I happen to be one of them. So I went there, and then after London, I came to San Diego, and then I stayed.
Okay. Well, you're on a comic schedule with the late nights and early mornings of eating and drinking, plus this world tour. That's prepped you well. That's really cool. Thank you. That's a great experience. Um, so aside from the material that you're bringing, and we'll talk a little bit about that, about like what you're working on. But do you remember what it felt like to get paid to do comedy for the first time, and what
Hmm.
that show was like?
Well, um, so I actually, honestly, I'm so sorry. I don't remember the first time I got paid, but I remember the first time I was supposed to get paid. It was
Okay.
It was March 21st, 2020. And the world shut down 7 days before my first show that I was supposed to make money at. And it was at the Comedy Palace, which is no longer in San Diego. The Mic Drop bought Comedy Palace.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what happened on the first show. And I had people lined up, that were coming to see the show and bought a ticket and everything. And I was like, I'm gonna get some money. But no.
Yeah, that stinks. Did you do like Zoom comedy at that time? Did you end up doing some of that?
Oh yeah, it was terrible. Me and three other women, we all came into comedy about the same time, and we were about the same age. And we did this show every week for a while. We were doing a Zoom show every week, and people showed up every week, which they weren't good. I mean, like, we weren't even a year into doing comedy, so our comedy wasn't that great, but we had other people on the show that were, more experienced. But Zoom comedy is so hard to do, the whole timing and everything. But we did it, and we even did fundraisers. We do a fundraiser once a month for the food bank, for the San Diego Food Bank, or something. So I assume that part of the reason that our shows were attended was because of the fact that we were doing fundraisers.
Okay. I mean that makes sense. I think comedy works as a fundraiser. I think that's always pretty cool. Zoom comedy, I remember watching some of it with friends of mine that I had worked with. It's so hard. Even to be honest, doing this over Zoom is difficult because I don't want to step on anyone's lines, and then sometimes the laughs are delayed and stuff like that. But within time, I like meeting people from across the country. That's the benefit of this, of being able to. I wouldn't have met you if I wasn't doing this virtually, but that's such a challenge too. Of exactly what you said. It's the timing piece of it is so difficult.
It's tough. You got to put those seconds after somebody finishes before you start. And yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, you're right. Um, so what are some things that you're like that you're working on right now? Some bits that you're working on that really work for you, that are really working in various rooms.
Well, I do I've got some bits about professional athletes. I got a bit about football and some female professional athletes. I, I don't know how much information you want about these bits, but they land really well. And like as far as what I'm working on, I do pet sitting and dog walking now. I have multiple jobs, right?
Okay.
And one of them is pet sitting and dog walking. And uh, I work for clients who basically their dogs are like their children.
Mhm.
So, like, I mean, like, they can be on the furniture, they can't be on the furniture, or I can't leave them alone, or, so like I have all of these circumstances that come up from taking care of these people's dogs that are quite, I mean, just without even putting a punchline in there, I'm like,
It just becomes silly. Yeah, it's just silly
yeah,
stuff.
I'm like listening, I'm like, oh, they mean this. This is what they want. Okay.
I'm probably guilty of being one of those people, but by the way, if you it's really up to you of how much you want to share. I know people don't want to always put their material out online. That's to answer your question there of how much I want to know about the bits. It's really however much you want to share of like things that you're working on, struggling with, whatever it might be.
Well, I'm gonna hang on to my football one, but and the pro athlete one, but I do some stuff about dating. I mean, everybody does stuff about dating, but like I'm over 60 now. I never thought I'd have to date again. Oh my God. And it's different, when you're trying to do online dating at this age. I mean, like, I do a bit. I'm like, I signed up for Silver Singles. I went on there, and those fellas looked like they were ready to die. So that propels the rest of the bit, right? That's the premise for what happens next. So,
That's great. I like that. That's really funny. Um, is there anything maybe like that's not working for you, but not working for, excuse me, for audiences, but maybe like you and the comics love, and maybe you'll toss out there at an open mic just to make your friends laugh? I know sometimes that's what we do.
well, I do have some jokes that are just for me. I'm not sure that the other comedians, you know, I'm not sure that they appreciate them, but I appreciate there's a list of my own jokes that I really like, you know, and they don't hit. I think some of my material would be better in the Midwest or in the South
Okay.
because I brought up Baptists, so like I have a lot of Baptist jokes.
Okay. Yeah, that's not gonna hit. I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not going to hit in the big city. Nobody's Baptist in the big cities. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
There, never mind. I won't go on with that statement.
No, that's okay. Actually, in Philly, it might hit. We have a bit of, I think we have a little bit of a Baptist population here for sure. But I grew up Catholic, and just to kind of think about what you were speaking about, that there is sort of an inspiration there of like when you're younger and going to church of the preacher, the pastor. Like there's something there of like learning how to perform when they're speaking. Like I think they all secretly want to be comedians as well. But I remember picking up on that as a kid of like their like the timing and what have you. And obviously they're writing their own homilies, whatever it may be. But when you mentioned that earlier, I could totally see that being an influence for sure.
Oh my God. I have to say my one grandpa was very charismatic.
I believe it. Yeah. Did you notice when you were younger, did you notice like people hooked to his preaching and things like that? Were you cognizant of that, of like the attention he was getting from the congregation?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
was. He was very, I don't know. Uh, and to be honest, like my dad, um, my dad was one of the most likable people that I've ever known in my life, and super funny. Oh my God, so funny, so talented. Um, he didn't monetize any of those talents, but
Mhm.
he was an artist. He was a tattoo artist before tattoo artists were cool. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he tattooed everybody. Like people go around my dad, they leave with a tattoo. Dad be like, "That's a perfect tattoo for you," you know.
That's really cool. That's a cool dad.
my my dad was absolutely one of the most likable, talented, humorous people I've ever known.
That's really nice. It's nice to have that kind of influence, family influence on you. That's really cool. Um, so what do you think the path is for you from comedy moving forward? What are the goals? Is it strictly stand up? Is it back to acting? Something else?
Well, I have been trying to get into this veterans writing program at the Writers Guild up in LA for the last 3 years, and I keep making it through parts of the process, but I don't get chosen to be in the program. It's for screenplay writing.
Okay.
So, so I didn't, this is the third year that I made it through some of the hoops, but didn't get chosen. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Pam Without a Plan.
Okay.
And I wrote a script for Pam Without a Plan. And so now I am trying to get into a UCLA extension class where you write a script in 11 weeks, and you have a professor and a group of people who are trying to do the same thing. So I'm trying to get into that right now. I've applied for that. I'm waiting to find out if I get in or not. And the purpose of going to that is to write another script for the veterans program next year. But if I don't get in, I think I know a cinematographer here in town. I know a costume person here in town. I think I might just take my script and start filming it myself and putting it on my YouTube channel.
I think that's a great idea. I'd be all for that. That's really cool to hear. I used to. I mean, I think ultimately I would like to get into film as well. And I used to write a lot of scripts when I was younger, and I never knew really what to do with it, or like enter contests and things like that. And I've shelved a lot of things, and I think I'm reaching a point where independent production is going to make the most sense at some point. Yeah,
Might as well. Then
yeah.
you get to do what you want, you know what I mean? The way you want it.
Yeah, that's the cool part about this. One of the earlier interviews I did was with Tony Deo. He's a comic based in New York. And he said back in the day, someone said to him, you have three choices: New York, LA, or obscurity. And that's no longer the case because we have access to so much technology. And he headlines across the country, does theaters and things like that, does all of his own self production, all of his own promotion, all of his own social media. So, I mean, we all, I think, have the capability to do that once, we're confident in our own material. And I'm definitely going to check out your YouTube page, and I'll plug it here for sure. So
Thank you.
I
Okay.
really hope to see that in production one way or another for you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like with this program, part of the payoff of getting into that program is uh, you're taught by people who are working in the industry, and at the end of the program, you write a script, right? And at the end of the program, they bring in the Hollywood people, and you get to schlep your script to Hollywood execs. So it seems like a quote unquote fast track way to do it. At least you're making contacts, you're meeting people, you're getting your script out there in front of people. I've watched the not the infomercials, but every year before the application opens, they do an informational. And some of the people who got into the program, like nobody picked their material, but somebody remembered them later and invited them to become a writer on a show. I mean, like that to me would be like the best thing ever, is to be, on some great show. Like I love Better Call Saul. I love that. I I wouldn't watch Breaking Bad because it was so gruesome at the beginning. I was like, oh, do we have to be so gruesome? I mean, I get it. We're trying to get people's attention and stuff like that, but I just couldn't get past it. And then I watched Better Call Saul, and I had to go back and watch Breaking Bad so I could figure out what Saul was doing in Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, but to be in a writer's room doing what they did, and they did it in COVID. They went on Zoom to write Better Call Saul uh, on Zoom during COVID.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that about Better Call Saul. And to your point about Breaking Bad, I didn't watch Better Call Saul. I watched Breaking Bad, and this is going to sound, I don't know if this sounds pretentious or not. I find it kind of forgettable. Um, I didn't, it didn't sit with me the same way like The Sopranos or Mad Men or The Wire sit. Those are like my top three in terms of shows. I don't, Breaking Bad was an excellent show, but it's not something I revisit. I guess we're looking at it through different lenses, but I think I may have gotten like bored at some point with it. That's what happened there. But I sorry, to the Zoom point, I didn't realize that's how Better Call Saul came about.
Yeah, well, it happened. It during originally they weren't, the writers' room wasn't on Zoom, but COVID happened, and so it went on Zoom. But I mean, it's really that character, uh, the Saul character played by Bob Odenkirk. Um, I was so rooting for him. Like, I so bought his character. I was like, this is really a good guy. And he just reacts badly in bad circumstances, which reflects my dating life to one degree or another. But that's what I believed about him. And then when he really showed himself to be a bad guy, I was so upset. I was like, no, I believed in him the whole time. And then he does redeem himself at the end, but what I loved about what they did with that show is I don't buy into characters that much. Do you know what I'm saying? And I totally bought into that character so to this degree, I was so invested in that character. And that's the kind of stuff I want to do, is I want to create characters like that are complex and interesting, and I don't even know if comedy is going to be like my last stop, because to be honest, I like the full spectrum of feelings, putting that out there rather than just funny, 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 funny. So we'll see how everything unfolds and unwraps. But I know, like, I like the buyout of the ups and downs and the funny, you know?
I like your line of thinking there, and I agree with you too of the full spectrum of feelings. It's often funny to go back and watch a show now that I'm a little older of something that I liked when I was younger, and I know there was like the anti-heroes, right? And it's like, oh yeah, this guy's so cool or whatever it may be. And then you go back, it's like, this is an awful person, but I'm still invested in their character. I think
Right.
that's yeah, layering it is so important. And and I think comedy, does have, I mean, obviously, like you said, funny first, but we have the opportunity to layer that in there, layer some serious things in and make them funny. I am very sorry about the background noise. I will cut this as much as I can. If you hear that, they're okay, landscaping. So almost made it. Um, so what inspires you? Excuse me, who inspires you and what makes you laugh?
Um, Well, Mike Birbiglia is an amazing, amazing storyteller, and he can tell a story and just punt, and it's filled with punches, and I'm like, that's what I want to do, I want to be able to do what he does. So Mike Birbiglia, and he's not just a stand-up comedian. He's been in shows and done different things. He's a broad spectrum type of person. So Mike Birbiglia is one of my big inspirations. Um, Brian Reagan. Do you know Brian Reagan? Oh
Love
my God.
Brian Reagan. Fig Newtons, one of my favorite bits ever. That's Brian Reagan's amazing. I used to watch him on Comedy Central when I was in high school. It's like I thought he was so smart. I mean, he is. It's so funny. Yeah.
And he's so animated and so into his bits, you know what I mean? I mean, he just brings me joy. Like, Mike Birbiglia is one thing, and Brian Reagan is something different, but
For sure.
still, oh my
Yeah.
God, he
Yeah.
makes me laugh. I just, watch just to laugh when it comes to Brian Reagan.
You
But
can't help it. Yeah. You can't help it.
and he's done some TV stuff too. He did that, what is it? Um Milk Lager, what is it? I can't remember the name of the show, but he was on a show with never mind. Cut that
Louder
part.
Milk?
Louder
Louder Milk?
Milk. That
I didn't watch that, but when you said I've heard about that show. Yeah. I heard it's pretty good. Let's
it
see.
was. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it was a good show. I enjoyed it. And then I was like, that's Brian Reagan. Oh my God.
Okay. I'll check that out too. Yeah, because I only really know him from stand up. And popping up in like shows about stand up probably. Um, but I'll definitely look at that. But so those folks like make you laugh and inspire you. But is there so that's a wide spectrum of styles. But is there a specific like style of comedy that really gets you more than another?
Well, I'll say this. I wanted to be a clever comedian, but I'm really not. I'm a animated comedian. So so I pay more attention to people who are doing a lot of act outs, you know, people who are animated, um, people who I mean, I guess it goes along with the self-deprecating humor, you know. Uh,
Yeah. No, no, I understand what you're saying, and I think there's a part of us that all want to be clever comedians, and I think it was like maybe Jay Leno years ago gave an interview. It says like no one wants to hear like you have to have this balance with comedy being like an accessible art of like if you start tossing out words like anthropomorphic and things like that, like the the audience knows you're just trying to show us that you're a good writer, and then they can't relate to you like so that it's finding the balance there I think is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not that smart in general, you know, I'm just a little below average. So, you know, I don't have so much to worry about, but I wanted to be
I'll
one of those
disagree with you.
quick-witted, and I mean, now that I'm really thinking about this, and I should have thought, Kristen Wiig, oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my God. She could do anything. Her and Kate McKinnon, they could do anything. Oh my God. I could only dream to be like them, you know?
that's yeah, and the quick-witted thing I can't like I'd probably struggle so much in improv with like yes
Uh,
and stuff like that. That would be such a challenge for me. That's not my strong suit either. But yeah, finding that balance between clever and silly I think is what we should strive for, and then lean into what makes you what your strengths are mostly.
There you go.
There it is. I only have a couple more questions for you. And I want to get to. I want to make sure you talk about the shows that you have upcoming and things like that. So, um, as a woman in comedy, what are some specific challenges that you've faced, and maybe that you've worked to overcome or address? Whether it's certain rooms, whether it's misogyny from male comedians or whatever that may be. What is your has your experience really been uh, since it's you're not the majority in stand up?
Um, I feel like my military days come in very handy because I just have always been, I don't know if this is going to come across good or not, but I've just always been really competitive with men, like if you can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm still that way. So if I get a no or turned away or something like that, I don't necessarily blame, the fact that I'm a woman as to why that happened. I go dig deep and try to find a better, try to do something better with my material or with whatever I'm doing. So I really feel like I'm lucky in that arena. And as far as misogynistic comedians, I mean, they're there. They do their thing. I don't take that personal. I don't try to control them, but I also, keep my distance from. I try to. I've tried to create a group of people in me that are in comedy that are, supportive. We're all trying to do the same thing. And I had mentioned the Armed Services Arts Partnership, and so a lot of the creatives that I have in my group, they're a part of a like-minded group that, we want to be supportive to each other. So I guess if I was to say anything is like if if anything had ever happened that could have been construed in a certain way, I just assume I need to do better, on my material. And I avoid people who um have a certain attitude about women, or I mean that attitude doesn't just go to women. They have that attitude about everything, you know what I mean? So I just distance myself from those people, and good luck to them.
That's a really balanced and measured way to put that. And that question actually came up because I was speaking with another woman at a mic months ago before I started this, and she said like, there's not many rooms that are friendly to women. I don't want to completely disagree with her. Not my experience, of course, but I think in Philly, we're the majority of rooms I've seen are comfortable. The majority of comics are not misogynistic, but again, some people are having different experiences than I would. But I think you hit the nail on the head that those people are going to have certain attitudes toward everyone, and they'll have their own group, and everyone just does their own thing. But that makes sense. Um, what piece of advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in comedy at any age?
Well, I would say find your people at the mics. Uh, I don't do anything all that well completely on my own. Like I need a group of people who are doing the same thing. It helps with accountability. It helps to have somebody to talk to when you had a bad show or a bad mic, or, somebody to run something by. But remember I told you there was us four women doing those Zoom shows at the beginning. We just kind of naturally came together, and we're still really close friends, all of us. So I would say find your people early, try to create something that is supportive for you and for others, and lean into that, because it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint, this thing.
That's great advice. And my last question that I ask everyone is, what would your younger self say about your decision, and what would they think about your comedy path?
My younger self would say, don't talk about those things in public. That's what she would tell me. You're supposed to keep those things to yourself, Pam. uh, and I think she would be surprised with my comedy path. She would be like, oh, that really worked. Oh my God. How, who, who knew that would work? Some of my best jokes, like I've taken them to people and I'm like, okay, I got this dumb joke. I mean, it's really not even that good of a joke. And I tell them and they're like, oh my God, Pam, that's a really good joke. So, and then if I think I have a great joke, people are like, nah. So I'm really not the best judge of my own material. You know what I'm saying? Like, really not. So I don't know. Did I answer the question?
You did. That's great. That's
Okay.
and I can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of people can. Well, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. This has been a lot of fun, and I want to make sure what's going on in San Diego. Where can we find you? What are you involved with? Upcoming shows, et cetera, et cetera. Let us know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'll talk about the Silver Sisters first. Me and one of those four women that I talked about, me and one of them, Carol Johnson, we have started producing our own show. It's called Silver Sisters, and we've got like 6 dates on the calendar in and around San Diego. This week coming up, we're at the Grand up in Escondido, June 4th at 7 p.m. And then we're doing our birthday show at the Mic Drop on June 19th, it's more than stand-up comedy. It's stand-up comedy and lip sync battle. And because it's our birthday show, so we get to do what we want. You know what
That's
I'm
fun.
saying?
Yeah.
There'll be costumes, comedy, cupcakes, everything you need at a comedy show, right?
Yeah. That's cool. We need cupcakes for sure. We need cupcakes.
So Silver Sisters is the big thing that I'm really trying to make this a show that I can take on the road, And Carol and we are the Silver Sisters, and then we pattern the show. Once we get a date, we look it up and find out what national celebration is happening on that date. So June 4th is National Old Maids Day. And Carol and I are both over a certain age, and we're both single. So we're celebrating National Old Maids Day on June 4th. So all of our Silver Sister shows have an addition, like October 18th is World Menopause Day, and that's one of our shows. So we
That's
do
great.
a few jokes about those things, and then use our own material for the rest. But that is the number one thing I'm working on producing and getting into the world. And then the other thing I mentioned was the Armed Services Arts Partnership. And I want to bring this up just because, this program is a nonprofit program, and it brings creative classes to active duty military veterans, family members of veterans, and caregivers to veterans. So that encompasses a lot of people. So if your grandpa was in the military, you qualify for these classes, and they do a comedy boot camp, they do a storytelling boot camp, they do improv. They're 100% free to the people who qualify for the classes. And I mean, they do art, painting, salsa dancing. They're looking to give people associated with the military creative outlets to process whatever they've got going on. So
Fantastic.
I can't speak highly enough about it. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's at asap.org.
Got it. I'll put that up as well. So once again, thank you so much. As I said, this will be out later in the month, and it's really been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
So nice to meet you, Stephen. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Nice to meet you as well.